inscribing Do What Thou Wilt onto the runoff vinyl for the first pressing of Led Zeppelin III, even acting out rituals on stage that look an awful lot like those described by the Beast in his, quote, instructions to his magical order. Page meant it when he said, I've employed his system in my own day-to-day life. While few artists have shown the same level of dedication to Crowley's life and philosophy as Page, or the members of Coil, or any number of satanic metal bands, there's one sense in which Crowley's legacy has become central to the spirit of most of rock and roll. We'll discuss this in more detail in part 8 of this series, but for now understand that his primary message was simply, find your true will and then do it.
Thou hast no right but to do thy will. Do that, and no other shall say nay. Every man and every woman is a star.
Which, when you boil it down, really means
there is no God but man.
This is not to say literally that there's no God. Satan knows there is, as do all men, if but just deep in their hearts. The crux of Crowley's demonic creed was just that each individual has no higher authority than their own will, that we are free to live life as we please. And this was the lie that the serpent hissed in the garden, and the deception that has become the siren chorus that floats through the world of popular music. Another way to dust for Satan's fingerprints is to examine the signs and symbols that are used within the culture of rock and roll. Even as words have etymological roots, so do symbols and gestures. And we can learn a lot about a movement or a culture by tracing where those roots lead to. For example, Hitler's National Socialist Party, the Nazis, used as its primary icon the twisted cross, or swastika. Well, it's no accident that this same symbol had been embraced as a powerful talisman during the occult revivals that immediately preceded the Third Reich. Madame Blavatsky's Theosophical Society, for example, used the swastika in their official seal. Significant? Well, understand that Theosophy's influence was considerable among Western intellectuals and counterculturalists, particularly in Germany. Among their many teachings was a Gnostic theory of racial superiority and purity as a key to the evolution of a superhuman race. There's little doubt that Hitler's racial theories and the icons he used to represent them were taken from the occult world of Blavatsky and others. In short, one can understand the fruit by looking at the root. Well, rock and roll is awash in any number of signs and symbols that have their roots in either the occult world or in the Bible's symbolic representations of evil. The pentagram or pentacle, for example, has a long history in the occult world, as well as in the culture of rock and roll. Ditto the Il Cornuto, or horned hand, a symbol used in occult circles to represent the horned god Satan. Contextually, it can be used in a benign way, say, for example, to represent the Texas Longhorns. But in the dark, rebellious, and carnal world of rock, there's little doubt as to its ultimate significance, whether people are aware of it or not. Then there's the infamous goat head, Judas goat, or Baphomet, a symbol whose only context is within the so-called left-hand path, voodoo, Satanism, the Golden Dawn, the doodlings of self-confessed satanic serial killer Richard Ramirez, and more than a few rock bands.
Kiss that goat!
Occult fortune-telling devices like tarot cards and Ouija boards are also not uncommon, with at least 2 bands claiming to have used the Ouija to divine their names. David Bowie consulted both it and a crystal ball in developing the character of Ziggy Stardust, the androgynous messiah who scrambled so many people's definitions of truth, authenticity, and sexuality in the 1970s. Then there are the various distortions of the Christian cross, among them the Southern Cross or upside-down cross, and the Satanic Cross, which was used as the group symbol for Blue Oyster Cult.
Not talking about light up above, I'm talking about the hellfire down below. That's right. That's a Lucifer light.
Even as the occult world loves to mock the cross and everything holy in the Bible, it's also quick to embrace the scripture's images of evil. Most notable, perhaps, is the dreaded Mark of the Beast, or 666, the consummate number of man in his rebellion against God. The number has become so closely associated with contemporary music culture that rock journalists frequently use it as shorthand to represent the industry's obvious commitment to rebellion, sex, chaos, and, well, evil. In the same way, every demon in the Bible, every alternative name for Satan, and many of the evil people found in either the scriptures or in the Judeo-Christian tradition make an appearance in one form or another. For example, when Sarah McLachlan went looking for a name for the popular tour that showcased female performers, she settled on Lilith Fair. And who was Lilith? Well, the mythological first wife of Adam, who was thrown out of the garden for her unwillingness to submit to either God or her husband.
She was Adam's first wife before Eve and wanted to be treated equally, yet he refused her that. And so she took off, said, fine, I don't need this. She's such a strong and wonderful feminist figure, yet we've never been taught that, so I feel really proud to put her back on her rightful goddess position.
The Lilith Fair was far more subversive and satanic than anything that I could have done, because here you have people playing this very innocuous folk music that's providing America with a lot of very dangerous ideas about women's sexuality.
Manson nailed it. Lilith may look cute and have a sweet voice, but her rebellion against God's authority begins and ends in hell. To excuse all this as meaningless metaphor or Halloweenish, just kidding hijinks is refusing to see the forest for all of the trees. We could spend hours documenting other examples of this sign language, but let's finish with one that is particularly interesting because it's more subtle, operating on a more subliminal level. If one were to survey the pantheon of world religions and attempt to identify the, quote, deities that best personify salvation through chaos, death, and madness, 2 at the top of the list would be the Prince of Darkness, under one of his many names, and the Hindu goddess Kali. Interestingly, they share many things in common, but one of the more curious as regards our analysis is the whole tongue thing. Kali is normally depicted, along with a necklace of human skulls, with her tongue sticking out. And anecdotal information provided by people who have consorted with the devil in some form or fashion paints a very similar picture. Keeping in mind the bigger picture we've just looked at, ask yourself, could there be any spiritual application here to the world of rock and roll? The Stones freely acknowledge that their famous logo was based in part on Kali.
The goddess Kali, and goddess Kali has this disembodied tongue which sticks out. So.
And protruding tongues are second only to the extended middle finger as the universal symbol of rock and roll rebellion.